Hey there, welcome back. I'm Stefanie Flaxman. I've been a writer and editor for 20 years. Since 2014, I've been the editor-in-chief of copyblogger.com, and I have more than 200 videos on YouTube that help you live and work like a writer. But did you know you can ask me specific questions about your writing career and get personalized guidance? I now have a paid consulting option for you. So if you'd like to work with me, check out the description box below to find out how. Imposter syndrome is something that I've written about for years. I've written about it in articles. When I teach writing, I talk about it, mainly because it holds many good writers back. So it's a very relevant topic for new writers. New writers often feel like other people are the, quote, real writers, and they're not. So it is extremely important that good writers who have the right skills, who are ready to position themselves as writers for hire, aren't held back by this idea that they're not really on the same level as other writers that they see. Maybe the other writers have more bylines, maybe they have bigger followings online. There are so many external factors that can make a new writer look at all the competition out there and say, they're the real writers. I mean, how can I compete? I'm not a real writer. If I work in this space and try to work as a writer, I'm a fake. I'm not them. It's so common, and it's become an increasingly popular topic in all creative fields. I've seen so many articles and videos about imposter syndrome in the past few years and really recently as well. I think what has happened in a lot of creative fields is that the barrier to entry has been eliminated in so many ways. We have so much access to technology that lets us do things on a fairly professional level. Writers can write and publish online. You can make videos and post them online. You can record audio. And if you have the resources, you could even write and direct a movie. We have the technology. You can do that on your phone if you really wanted to. You could do that on your computer. These big barriers that used to be there that separated an exclusive group from the rest of us, because only a small exclusive group could have access to the technology to make these creative things happen, they're not there anymore. So it's sort of a creative renaissance that's been going on, but that leaves people wondering who the artists artists are and who are faking it. Right? If everyone's doing stuff, who's doing that on a, quote, professional level and who isn't? And there are so many philosophical questions here, because if you make a movie, let's just say in the entertainment industry, if you write and direct a movie and make it, does that make you a writer and director? Well, you've done the thing, and you should get credit for that. You could have not done the thing. You could have done nothing, right? So if someone directs a movie, does that make them a director? Well, what if the movie is poorly directed? What if it's really just you're filming scenes that you wrote because you've never studied directing, because you don't have the credentials, because you really aren't a student of film? You're really not constantly learning when you consume movies, so you just sort of write some scenes and then you film them and then you call yourself a director. We could see this in the terrible entertainment that gets made in all the streaming platforms and probably in theaters as well. Just people who have the resources to do something creative, and they do it, but they haven't studied, and you get, just sort of a mediocre movie, if we're using movies and examples, that can't even compare. They're not even in the same ballpark as traditional movies, where directors had to put in their due diligence and they had to study film and they had to know what they're doing. Now anyone sort of could be a director in a lot of ways if they get the resources to make a movie. So I went off on a little bit of an entertainment tangent, but I just wanted to emphasize why I think imposter syndrome is such a big topic right now, because everyone's doing everything. There's not a separate category for professionals as much as there was before. And there are good and bad things that come along with that. It's great that more people have access to technology that helps them with creative expression and stuff. But again, we're left with the philosophical question of who are the real artists here. And critics in our wimpy culture really don't do the job that they did before. Critics used to have a more important role in determining what is quality, or who works on a professional level and who doesn't. I mean, we have anonymous trolls online who aren't afraid to criticize and add their 2 cents, and everyone has an opinion online. An opinion online is not a critique. An anonymous troll saying, that's bad, that movie sucks. Even me right now, I could be an anonymous troll saying that there's a bunch of subpar movies by people who really don't know anything about directing, and they call themselves directors. Like, I'm being a troll right now by saying that, right? Or that's at least how criticism is sort of looked at in our culture now. Instead of an important part of the artistic process, what critique used to be, now we're just, trolls and haters if we say anything wrong. So we have watered down true critique because no one wants to be looked at like a hater or a troll. And so true art critics are hard to find, or they're watered down, or they have their own agendas. So while you might think that critique is becoming a little outdated, that would be freeing for artists. It actually could be contributing to why people feel fake and why there are so many articles and videos on imposter syndrome and how to overcome it, which is what I am talking about today as well. A huge thing for me has been the spelling of imposter in imposter syndrome. I always spelled it with an I. No, it's always with an I, with an O instead of an E. So I've always spelled it IMPOSTOR, imposter. To me, that has been the real traditional spelling, but equally online, you'll find it spelled IMPOSTER. And that's not wrong. Apparently it goes back to as far back in history as the OR spelling. But I originally, when imposter syndrome wasn't quite as popular, I always saw it with the O spelling, which is what I stuck with for the title of this video. It sounds the same, imposter or imposter. Yep, from what I found, the ER is equally accepted. It's not wrong if you spell it like that, but I'm going with tradition and what I have classically known of the spelling. And so, it's kind of funny that this topic, even the spelling of it, you can't agree on. So we can't agree who the real artists are and who aren't the real artists, and we can't agree on the spelling of the word. But imposter syndrome is relevant to writing professionally, because writing professionally is professional art. And understanding the philosophy of professional art can actually help you overcome imposter syndrome. So there is no objective right or wrong when it comes to art. Unlike an accountant completing the math equation 2 + 2 = 4, which is certainly correct, an artist does not know how the public will receive their innovative equation. Will it be perceived as ugly? Will it be perceived as beautiful? How will the public receive their work? And that uncertainty naturally affects a human being's confidence and self-worth in business and when you're writing professionally. What's more maddening is that for every person who calls a piece of writing ugly or bad, there's another person who'll call it beautiful or groundbreaking or great. For every person who says a concept is stupid, there's another who will perceive it as excellent, brilliant. So for every person who is bored, there is another person who is entertained. No wonder well-intentioned people in your life have tried to talk you out of pursuing writing. You have to be comfortable getting paid for work someone will inevitably dislike, because writing is art and art is subjective. So you write something, you get paid for it, but people might not like it. So that makes a lot of people think, well, I shouldn't have gotten paid for it and I'm not a real writer. There's so much mindset that you have to focus on, or there's a mindset component to being a professional writer, because all of this is the nature of professional art, which is the nature of professional writing. Imposter syndrome prevents many writers from evolving into professional creatives. It's the feeling that we're not good enough. It's the feeling that someone else knows what they're doing. It's the feeling that criticism is just too painful. But the person we think isn't an imposter, the person who is good enough, who knows what they're doing and doesn't mind criticism, is also sometimes paralyzed by their own potential shortcomings, and they're looking to someone else as the, quote, real deal. The root of imposter syndrome when it comes to being a professional writer is the false belief that your writing is not worth money because someone might not like it. And one of the main qualities that separates a recreational writer, a hobby writer, from a professional writer is that the professional feels worthy of getting paid for subjective work. They know their creations are not going to please everyone, and they know they deserve to get paid anyway, simply because of their high level of thought and care for their work, because they have the right credentials to do that work. So let's tap into 2 steps professional writers must practice to achieve that state of confidence, because it really comes down to confidence. And so for this first step, you need to trust that the people who don't like your writing don't matter. And I don't know if we ever fully achieve this step, but it's something we must try to understand every day when we write every day. Deepening your appreciation for the people who do matter helps you refocus your energy in a positive, productive way. Because ultimately, fixating on criticism doesn't grow your audience or your business. Only the momentum you get from doing great work does. Which leads us to step number 2. They are connected. You need to embrace the value that you produce. When you get clear on what motivates you, why you're a writer, why you actually want to do this for work and not something else, then you realize you'd rather make progress than get wrapped up in your own self-doubt. Self-doubt is just stopping you. Many people might not like the articles that I write or the videos that I publish, but if I focus on that, it'd be pretty hard to keep going and keep writing and keep making videos. Instead, I focus on the possibility of helping other writers do meaningful work they love, 1 paragraph at a time, 1 sentence at a time, and 1 word at a time. So focusing on why you do what you do. And if you don't know why you do what you do, that is something you need to figure out before you're going to stop feeling like you can't compete as a writer, and that you don't want to promote yourself as a writer because you don't feel confident. Focus on why you want to do what you do. Why does writing matter to you? It's a really, really great first step. And then once you have that, go through these 2 steps right now. Just to recap, you need to trust that people who don't like your work don't matter, and then refocus any energy that is going towards self-doubt into, wait, there's a reason why you want to be a writer. There's a reason why this is your calling, or you're transitioning into this type of work rather than another field. And if you do have a specific question about your writing career and you'd like to get personal guidance from me, once again, I now have a paid consulting option. So if you'd like to work with me, check out the description box below to find out how. I'm Stefanie Flaxman, and I will talk with you soon.